Welcome back, everybody, to a new super-sized, mega-sized episode of Chasing Ghosts. I got the idea to do some extra books. I was thinking about doing them in the Forgotten Variants line. Then as I was going through it, I was like, you know what? This fits better for Chasing Ghosts. But this episode's kind of long, so it doesn't feel right to do it on Tuesday. So you know what? I figured I'd do a special Saturday drop and do this supersized edition again for Chasing Ghosts. Hopefully you enjoy that, as well as the other content that I'm putting out here on the channel. If you are, please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends. Let's keep growing this channel a little bit more. And I'm going to start doing some more giveaways again. I don't know what mile markers I'm going to put up, but I'm going to put up some mile markers because I still got tons of stuff to give away. So let's keep having fun and let's keep talking comics, right? So if you want to see what books I'm going to be talking about here in this supersized mega edition of Chasing Ghosts, just hang on for a second and we'll get to the books right after the intro. Okay, so as a follow-up, I got a good response to the 50th anniversary special edition that I did this past Tuesday with those pretty awesome homage covers, and got a good response, and people were talking about some of the books, and I only showed you a few. I showed you maybe a third of the entire run, so you know what? I figured let's just finish off the whole series. Let's just cover them all just for fun, and let's just do them, because I did I did the one book on its own last week, and then this past Tuesday I covered about another 8, so that leaves us 16 left of the 25. So you know what, we're going to be doing 16 books today, and we're just going to run through the list and just see which one of these are ghosts and which one's not, because as I was running through this list, even though the print runs are higher on these books here than the ones I covered this past Tuesday, some of the books in here are a little bit tougher to track down and don't come up as often. So even though their print runs may not be as high as the ones from Tuesday, some of these could still be ghosts, while others are a little bit easier to find. We'll go through the list, and you can make your call on what you think of each one as we go through it. So we are continuing this list and just going to wrap it all up this on this special edition Saturday, because until Ben and I start getting back to doing our first appearance spotlights, I got to fill the time on Saturdays somehow, and Mike Morello doesn't have any more unboxings for me to share with you guys. So if you haven't checked those out yet, make sure you go back and check all the unboxings. He's got some cool Star Wars stuff. But for this Saturday, I'm dropping this. Let's go on to our special supersized Saturday edition of Chasing Ghosts, starting with our first book, The Amazing Spider-Man number 674. I know this looks familiar, as it should, because this is a pretty awesome book in its own right, this Silver Surfer 4, where he's facing off against Thor. But I think it's pretty awesome having Green Goblin and Spidey play the roles here. And, yeah, makes for a pretty awesome cover. ASM was hitting about 57,000 print run at the time. So, again, remember, all of these books are 50th anniversaries, 1 in 50 incentive editions. So all of them are 1 in 50s. I didn't bother putting it up this time because they're all the same. They're all 1 in 50s. So using that quick math for a 1 in 50, there's potentially about 1,150 copies out there. 1,154 is the number I get when you do that math. Now, that's plenty, and that's more than the 600 or so I was doing on the ones from this past Tuesday. Let's see what's in the census for this. There are 99 in the census with 54 9.4s, 31 9.6s, and then a few others down the line there. So being a little bit more popular, it is Spider-Man after all, and it is an homage cover. So this does have some interest, and it looks like enough people, at least close to 100 people, have gotten their book graded. Shouldn't be too surprised by that. Now, if you go out shopping for this book, are there any copies out there for you to buy? Right now, I found a quick 4 that you could find, ranging from $135 raw to $350 9.8. There's a little cheaper, $280 9.8 mixed in, and a $179.6 if that's more your speed, but not a cheap book. Definitely not cheap for this one. Not super duper expensive, but still not cheap. So just keep that in mind if you're out there, shopping for something like this, that's about the price range, what's available right now. And if you want to check out what's sold recently, raw copy sold best offer on about $60. So you can sneak one maybe if you get lucky and find it for a closer ratio. Again, this is a 1 in 50. So one would expect if you pay ratio prices, you're going to be paying at least $50. Moving on, next book, The Avengers, number 18. Looks pretty familiar, facing off against Kang on this cover. Not quite Magneto, but it is an homage to X-Men number 1. Pretty cool. Yeah, kind of dig it. Definitely dig it. This lineup of Avengers is a little bit different with Red Hulk, and you got Spider-Woman there in the background. But hey, pretty cool homage. And this is almost 59,000 for the print run on this one. So just a hair under 59,000. So that's going to give our incentive potentially 1,177 copies. So a little bit more than the ASM. But, yeah, still pretty low, all things considered, especially when you think about those exclusive variants a lot of shops have where they have 1,500 copies of the version and 3,000 copies of the trade dress and things like that. So, yeah, it's still not a lot when you put it in that perspective. And we're still talking about books from 10 years ago in that late fall, winter time for 2011 is when these came out. So what's in the census for this? Only 11. There's only 11 copies of this book in the census, even though it has a higher print run than the Spider-Man. Apparently not as many people get this graded. So 6 9s, 9 8s, 3 9 6s, and a pair of 9 2s is all we've got in the CG census for this particular incentive. So that's kind of interesting. Not a lot of copies graded. Could be a tough book to grade with that darker cover, but who knows? But if you're shopping, there are copies out there. $110 for a raw, but then you see, wait, there's $25 copies and $30, $40 copies, and this isn't all of them. There was more copies than this out there. This is just a sampling of what was there. So there are copies of the Avengers one out there, and they're not too bad, including half ratio and under ratio. So if you're shopping, you might be able to find one, a pretty decent price. And when you look at what's recently sold, $18, best offer on $25, and right there in that middle, somebody bought one for $7. $7 for a 1 in 50 is a steal of a price, in my opinion. That's the kind of stuff that I'll buy almost regardless, just because, it's just tough to find books at that kind of price. I just have a hard time just leaving it behind if I'm buying something else. I'm just going to throw a few together and make a little package and just get a few tough to find books. But that's what we got for Avengers 18. So we're going to keep moving on because, again, we still got 14 books left to go through. And we're going to move on to Captain America number 6, which I'm sure you can see it right away because these all homage classic Marvel covers. Like, these aren't like obscure things. Like, this is obviously, Uncanny XMen 141. So pretty awesome homage. Not one that's been done before, so it's not an original idea, but still pretty cool when you got the Captain America characters and the Avengers in the background as opposed to the X-Men. And this book has a print run just under 48,000, so that's going to give our incentive just under 1,000 copies, 955 for the incentive potentially. Again, estimated numbers. We're just kind of doing guesswork based on the reported print runs and what we know of the incentive. So what's in the census for this? Only 19 copies, which is not too many. 14 9 8s, 4 9 6s, and it looks like a 9 2 is all we got in the census for this one. And if you're shopping, I only found 2. We've got a raw for $35, under ratio ain't bad, and a 9 8 that's $170. So $170 for a 9 8 on a 1 in 50. It's not too bad. So if you really dig this book, I don't think that's an unreasonable price for that. Personally, it is a 1 in 50 after all. So if you dig this, I don't know. When I had extra money, I might think about it, but we'll see. Let's see what actually sold. When you want to compare it to what actually sold, there are none. None recently sold in the last 3 months. So this one doesn't come up a lot. So only 2 available and none sold in the last 3 months. So even at those lower prices, this book could be kind of tough. And this one could be in contention for a possible ghost out of this grouping. But we'll see. Moving to our next one. I know it says The Amazing Daredevil, but this is just Daredevil number 7 because it's obviously homaging Amazing Fantasy 15. One that also has been done before, but I don't see it often with Daredevil, and holding Bullseye is kind of fun. Print run just under 39,000 on this one, so that's going to give our incentive only about 776. So it's definitely much lower than the other books we covered so far. And that's also backed up by, well, 33 in the census ain't too bad with 29 eighths, 9 sixes, and a couple of others. Considering the last book, had even less. But when we go looking for what's available for this one, so if you wanted to buy this Daredevil book, there's none out there, at least on eBay right now. There's none for you to buy. So none available, and looks like we got none sold either. So, no options on this one for you right now. So, tough book. Definitely a tough book. We're going to move this one on to, this is a pretty cool cover. Fantastic Four 601. Obviously, it's the Thing. The screen here that I have, it's showing a little more yellow than the orange. I think they're trying to go for more of the orange of the Thing. So depending, I guess, on your screen settings, you may see it slightly differently. But it's the Thing, and it's also homaging that really cool Incredible Hulk 377, which we know has a couple of later printings that maybe we'll cover in the forgotten reprints, but I don't think so because people know about this book as far as like the second and third prints go. But still, a cool cover originally, a cool cover to homage here. I think Ron Garney did this one, and a little over 51,000 on the print run for this. So that's going to give us just a little over 1,000 for the incentive as well. So decent number, not a ton, but not minuscule either. What's in the census? We got 29 in the census with 14 9/8 and 11 9/6, and then a few others. Still not a whole bunch, but a few. We want to go shopping for this. You got one option, $35 for a raw. So again, a lot of these are showing up to be under ratio when you're looking, which again, it's not too bad for something that's 10 years old. Definitely could be a fun set to try to go and collect. I know my buddy Van Denby, who wrote about this over on comicbookinvest.com years back. I think he said like 2015, he did the original, and then Ben C revived the article and put it back out there like a year or two ago. So definitely go check that out. I put the link in on Tuesday. I'll put the link in again today because it'll cover, show all the books all together. So if you just want to see them all in one grouping, check it out over on comicbookinvest.com because that's a great site for information as well as a link to this topic that we're talking about. Because this is a set, again, like I said, my buddy Van, he went and hunted and he has collected this one. So kudos to him for grabbing this one already. It's one I might try, but it could take me a while. Some of them are a little bit pricey. But that being said, the one copy that's available for this would also sold for this. A few. We actually got a few sales on this. We got $65, $35 for the raws. There's a $70 raw down below, and then a 9/8 for only $150. So that's not too shabby. $150, I might consider it for this book. It's kind of cool, but I mean that one's gone. Somebody else already bought it back in August. But no, just something to keep in mind. Keep in mind the prices and where things are at for these. And we're gonna move on to our next book. The Incredible Hulk #2. And I'm sure you can figure out what we're looking at here with this this homage to Demon in a Bottle. Iron Man 128. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. This looks like Mike Deodato art on the cover. Not 100%, but that's what it looks like to me. Print run on this book's a little heftier than the last few. A little over 80,000 on this. So that's going to give a print run just a hair over 1,600. So a little bit more for this book than the last few. Something to keep in mind, but the census still is pretty slim pickings here in the census. Only 18 9/8, 4 9/6, 7 9/4 apparently, and then a few others. I don't know, it's rare to see something like that where there's more 9/4s or like lower grades than like 9/6s. Usually it's staggered pretty well, like decreasing numbers, but I don't know. I guess this book also could be tough. It's got a pretty dark cover there. And so maybe its spine ticks up pretty easily. Not sure. But what's out there to buy if you're shopping? A couple examples. Raw is going to cost you $55, $60, and a 9/8 for this guy, $600. So you can see some of these have higher asks for those graded copies, whereas some of the other ones, they're asking $150, $160, and this 9/8 is asking $600. Just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind if you're out there shopping or hunting this set of, again, it's 25 total books. 1 of 50 incentives from 2011. Not going to be easy to complete, but you can probably do it. 52.55 is the example that I have for a recently sold book. That's the only one that I found recently sold back in July. A little over $50 raw. Not too bad. Definitely not too bad. Moving on to Invincible Iron Man number 510. Pretty cool War Machine, Iron Man facing each other, just like that Captain America Wolverine cover by Mike Zeck, that classic cover. Again, all of these are just classic covers that you should know like right off the bat. And if you don't, no harm, no foul. I'm not saying you should know. It's just you most likely do. Most people might know them. But if you don't, that's what I'm telling you they are. And I'll explain it to you. But the estimated print run on this one's a little over 38,000, so that's going to give the incentive about 762. Pardon me. So a little over 750 for this one. And again, pretty cool cover. Looks like is that Mike Choi? Might have been, or is it Brandon? I think it's Mike Choi. Looks like the signature on that one. Only 7 copies in the census, so not a lot of people getting this book graded, and only 2 9/8s, 4 9/6s. That black cover has probably got to be tough to find in high grade, especially after a decade, wherever it might have been, if you find it. So what's available? Look at that. There's a copy for $8. Copy for $8. I might have to go and buy that myself. I don't know, $8 for a 1 in 50. I definitely have to look at it. 35 and 25 for this. So all under ratio, raw copies, if you're interested in looking for this book. And what sold? Copy sold for $8. So they barely have more than one. Jesus. And then best offer for 20. So this one definitely sells for pretty cheap. I guess Invincible Iron Man during that run didn't have a lot of fans. I don't know. I thought it was a decent part of the run. I think there's some Mandarin stuff in there around that time frame. But that being said, that's our Invincible Iron Man. So we're going to keep it moving on to Thor next. We have Mighty Thor, I think this is. I think this is Mighty Thor number 7. And yeah, I mean, you can figure it out just by looking at the cover what this is. And yeah, it's the Incredible Hulk one. So again, classic covers that they're doing for the 50th anniversary of Marvel, which makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. It's when you see some of the more modern things like that Mike Zeck Cap, Annual 8, that's kind of weird when you think about it. Like, why aren't they doing more of these Amazing Fantasies and X-Men 1s and Hulk 1s? Like, yeah, I don't know. But here we do have the Hulk one on this Thor book. A little over 44,000 for the print run on this. So that's going to give our incentive, 880 estimated copies. So not too bad. Definitely a little bit on the lower side for what we've had today's batch. And we look in the census for this, only 13 copies with 7 9/8s, 5 9/6s, and it looks like 194. So definitely a low census numbers on this too. So not a lot of people getting this one graded. Granted, the cover is okay. It's not great, but it's an homage to a Kirby, which is kind of cool, But what's available? There's one for $40. So not a lot of copies. Just the one. It's under ratio, price raw, but still only one out there. Does that make it a ghost? I don't know, maybe. And what's sold? None. So it's not like the market got cleaned out. That one copy is it, and it has been it for the last couple of months. Definitely interesting. And I was going to move on. Going to move on to the next one because we still got a few more. We still got a few more to cover, and I dig this new Avengers 17. I love the homage here. It's it's a favorite. I'm an X-Men fan, so this Uncanny, well, can't say Uncanny. It's just X-Men 101 Phoenix cover is just really cool. I love the original, and the homage is done pretty well too. When you got like the Luke Cages and Mockingbirds down below filling in for the X-Men. Ms. Marvel's the one jumping out of the water. Still, really cool cover. I wouldn't mind having this one. 55,000 plus on the estimated print run, which is going to give us a little over 1,100 for the incentive. Estimated. Again, my estimated numbers. I just like to keep reaffirming that and let you guys know these are not definitive numbers in any way. And only 14 in the census with 10 9/8s and 4 9/6s. So still not a ton in the census either. I feel like a lot of these books you just got ignored and maybe just forgotten about over the years, which is why I was initially going to do this in forgotten variants and not under the Chasing Ghost umbrella. But as you can see, some of these books, there's only one copy out there, no copies out there, and none sold. Felt like as I was running through the research that I still needed to keep this under the Ghost umbrella. So here we are with a supersized special edition on Saturday. What's available for this new Avengers? Getting back to it. New Avengers, we've got a few. If you're shopping for this one, you can get it raws in that like $50 to $60 range, or 9/8, only $225, a little higher, $225, and then you can get looks like a Stan Lee signature for $700. Double signature. I don't know what the second signature is there, but two signatures. It looks like one Stan's and I got my stand sitting here next to me. But $700 for a 9.8 SS double signed. Interesting, definitely interesting. And you want to look at what's sold? None. So that's it. No, none sold, and those 4 that are out there. Interesting, just interesting. Moving on, Ultimate Comics Ultimates number 4. And I'm sure if you look at this one, you can recognize that Secret Wars, that Marvel superhero Secret Wars number 1 from back in the 80s, that classic crossover, the one that a lot of us remember very, very fondly as the impetus for our collecting. Like I collected a lot of stuff because of that series and those toys. Like those toys really drew me in at that age. I mean, it was like 84, I think. Might have been 85. I don't know. It was somewhere in there. Middle 80s is when that series and those toys came out. But print run on Ultimates here is just under 40,000, and that's going to give us an incentive of about 786 thereabouts. So again, on the lower end for our group again. While Tuesday we had more in the 500-600 range, anything's hitting under 1,000 here is on the lower end for today, and also not a lot in the census for this. Only 15 with 998s, 496s, and a pair of 94s. Definitely not a lot. Definitely not a lot on this one. And if you want to go buy one, if you want to go out shopping, I found 3. Raw is only $20. That's pretty cheap, under half ratio. And then a 9.4 for 200, and then a 9.8 for 200. So I'll let you make your calls if you want to go and buy one of the graded copies, which of the 2 you want to pay for. But $20, actually 1977, buy it now in 1977 shipping because it's coming from Canada. So it is actually closer to ratio, and $40 if you got to factor in shipping, which, I mean, how you want to budget it yourself, you do your own justifications with shipping. But what sold for this guy, we have a few. 9.8 sold for only $120. That's not too bad. I think that's not a bad price for something like this. And raws, 15, 20, 25, $15 for a raw copy. That's where I start shopping. Like when I'm looking at 1 in 50s that I kind of dig, and they're in that like $15 or less range. Again, that's when I start reaching for my wallet, personally, even online, because sometimes you can't find this stuff out in the shop. So you do got to shop online. But we're going to move on. Keep moving on. We're almost near the end, I think, here with Uncanny XForce number 16, which has an homage to a more recent-ish type book for this kind of series, that New Avengers number 1, which I think was like the early 2000s, or like 2004, 2006, somewhere in that range. But still pretty cool homage, that Uncanny XForce. And it had a hefty print run because this was a popular kind of run at the time with that kind of assassin team of X-Men with Phantom X and Psylocke and Wolverine, Deadpool, and Archangel. Definitely a cool read. And like I said, it was supported by a larger print run than most X-Force titles, especially these days. But a little over 52,000 for this one will give us just over 1,000 incentives, 1047 on this. What's in the census? Only 7. Interesting. 398s, 396s, and a 94. Only 7 people subbed this book. I mean, it's not the most gorgeous homage and not the most classic cover in the world, but still kind of cool. And I also know it's an odd number to do this on. It's not like a number 1, it's issue 16. But I think that's also what has part of the appeal to me. Like the later run issue with such a high incentive, there are not going to be that many, but still 1,000. Raw, there's a couple copies out there. $22, $41. Both coming from the UK, so shipping is a little steep, but still a couple of raw copies out there if you are in the market for one. You want to look at what's sold? We got one sale, best offer on $40. So that was back in June too. So that one's going to drop off the history soon, because eBay history only goes back about 3 months. So glad I did this now, because otherwise we'd have had another none sold. But moving on, this Uncanny X-Men number 2, I actually had to look this one up, because when I looked at the cover, it looked familiar, but I couldn't place it. I couldn't like immediately pinpoint, like, why do I know this image? So I actually had to go and look this one up to see what it was. And I was surprised and kind of like smacked myself in the head. Oh, it's Defenders. But it's Marvel Feature Presents The Defenders number 1. So there you go. See the Hulk coming right at you, and Namor. That's what really kind of drew me to like why I know Namor is in the right place too. Like I knew it was him being himself, just in a different outfit. And the Magneto is Doctor Strange and Juggernaut, or Colossus Juggernaut, I should say, kind of filling in there. But this, a bit of a heftier print run because it is Uncanny X-Men. One is still and always been one of Marvel's best-selling titles the last couple of decades. 72,000 plus on that one, which is going to give us a little under 1,500 on the incentive. Well, still plenty of copies out there, but still not too many in the census. Only 23 with 16 9/8 and 6 9/6s, and it looks like a rando 6.5, 6.5 in there somewhere. So somebody subbed to beat her, but there it is. And if you're shopping for this thing, we got a couple. There's a couple out there for you, right in about a $50 range. So you're going to pay $50 raw, right around ratio if you're shopping for this. And like I said, pretty cool cover, and one I wouldn't mind having in the collection, but it's probably at the back of the list for some of these others, because I do kind of dig some of these others a little bit more. But what sold looks like best offer on $28 for it. Looks like the regular and the incentive together. Looks like a little set you could have gotten for under half ratio, most likely. Definitely not a bad price on that. I know we've been going a while here, almost half an hour, but we got a couple more left. We're almost there. Like I said, there were 16 books for us to cover, so we got a few left just to wrap us up. And the next one up is Wolverine number 18. And this is a decent cover, but I am tired of seeing this. It's like seeing the ASM 300. I'm just tired of seeing the Spidey 1 homage. It's just, there's just too many. Every indie book out there seems to do it these days. And it's just getting exhausting. Personally, I've seen enough of it. But this was 10 years ago, and it is still a pretty cool cover. I wouldn't mind having it. I do like the bright colors, and I still do like the yellow and blue is not bad look for Wolverine. Print run of about 40,000, so incentive's not going to be too many. It's a little over 803 copies. So this is on the lower end, and a Wolverine book to boot. So this one, I would have guessed that's going to be a little pricier on the aftermarket. And it's got 46 in the census. So even though it's got half the copies as some of the other ones, it's got multiple times as many copies submitted because it is Wolverine. So 31 9/8, 12 9/6s, and 3 9/4s is what we've got in the census for this guy. And like I said, if you're shopping, there's one out there, and it's $130 plus raw. So there's one. And it's coming from the UK, so paying $30 shipping on this, you're looking at over $160 to purchase this in the US for a raw book. So it's definitely not cheap. And if we look at what actually sold for this, there's a couple that sold, and somebody got one for $50, which ain't a bad price. I'd probably consider this one for $50. I'd pay ratio for this if I were to come across it. It was in good shape. And then looks like a best offer on $100. So who knows what that ended up being, but looks like a Koi Fam cover, which is kind of cool. He's a nice guy. We talked to him on 3 Comic Money a few months ago, and definitely a cool cover. So I would keep an eye out for it, even though I'm tired of the homage. Moving on, we still have another Wolverine, but it's Wolverine and the X-Men number 2. And I dig this. I like this one quite a bit, actually. I know it's a Gwen Stacy. You know, you're going to go back to the ASM 121 classic issue of Spider-Man. But I like it. I don't know. I like the layout. I like the blues and the yellows. They go together. But print run's pretty high on this one. A little over 83,000. So that's going to give us plenty of copies for the incentive. 1,667 copies by my math. And a few in the census. 37. 3 9/9s. 3 9/9s. Like, you don't see 9/9s all that often, let alone 3 of a title that's only got 37. That's kind of crazy to me. And then 26 9/8s. So that's a lot of high grade books, and it's almost making the 9/6s, the 5 9/6s unimportant as well as the rest, because 3 9/9s, crazy. But what do we got available for this one? If you're out shopping for this, there are quite a few copies. You can get this for as cheap as $16 raw. Looks like a CBCS 9/8 for $145. And then there's other raws that might be asking $40 to $60, but there are cheap options. And I think that's a fine copy that's listed too. So it's not a 9/8 candidate that you're getting for $16, but that's kind of the point. Like, you got to be willing, if you're going to be buying a high incentive book for that cheap, don't have expectations of a 9/8, and don't give the seller like some bad feedback if they're selling you 1 in 50 for a price like that. And you're like, oh, it's got a spine tick. It's like, yeah, that's why it's that that low. So I don't know, just be mindful. Be mindful of the price, and don't be that guy. Anyway, recently sold none. So we got a few out there, but none actually sold for this book. I'm going to keep an eye out for this one because, like I said, I kind of dig this. I don't know, something about it. It's just popping off the page to me. As well as the next one. I'm an X-Men fan, so don't be surprised by me wanting all of these. And this X-Men number 19, obvious callback, and it's definitely pretty cool. Lianon Yu, I believe, did the cover, and it's obviously Fantastic Four 1. Going back to the super classics with this print run, only a little over 40,000, well, close to 41,000. This is that X-Men run that started with the vampires, like that vampire run. So it wasn't the main X title, I don't think, at the time. Uncanny was still going, as we just had it. But this was the other X-Men title, and the incentive for this is only got about 818 copies. So definitely a lower number than the other book. And census also is not too bad. I think the Fantastic Four homage helps it get a little bit more submissions. So we got 25 9/8s and 4 9/6s, and then a couple others for a 31 total. So there's 31 in the census for this book, which is not a ton, but I mean, considering there's only a little over 800 copies, it's interesting. Definitely interesting. And if you go out there shopping for this, you can't find it. And I was trying to take a look at what prices were because I kind of like it, but no copies to buy right now. And there weren't any sold either. So you can kind of guess where this one's probably going to end up when we get done with this. And we're almost done because we only got one more book left. And it's yet another X-Men book, but it's X-Men Legacy, number 259. Pretty cool Magneto cover. Interesting and odd, though, when they homage like more recent covers. It's a cool. I do love this Granoff cover for Iron Man, the Invincible Iron Man number 76 or 421, if you go by the Legacy numbering. But it's just, when you look at X-Men 1 and Fantastic Four number 1 being homaged, and then you just get a random Iron Man book. It's just odd. But still, X-Men Legacy, print and run just under 42,000, which is going to give us 761 thereabouts for the incentive. And when we look in the census, only nine copies, and only 2 9/8s and 6 9/6s and a 9/4. So 9/8s are not easy to come by for this book, which interesting. A lot of blues. It's not all black, but I guess those bright colors are just as tough sometimes as the darks when it comes to spine and wear. But if you're out there shopping, none to buy. And if you want to see what's sold, one sold for $12 from the UK. So it had $17 shipping, but still $12. Just 13th. So just a few days ago, this sold $12. And it wasn't me. I didn't buy this one. I wish it did, because $12, that's a decent price for something this low printed and this hard to find. Again, there's no other copies out there. That's the only one sold. So as I was kind of leading off saying, I didn't think I was going to have any of these be ghosts when I did the research, because these were all higher printed than the last grouping. But you know what? I do got to give a few of these that ghost categorization, because there is either only one copy available right now in the case of Wolverine and Thor, or no copies available in the 2 X-Men books and the Daredevil book. So no copies available with very little sold on all of them. Yeah, I'm giving them the old ghost. So out of the 16 we had today, we're going to give 5 that moniker. That's my call for this grouping. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and hopefully you enjoyed this supersized edition of Chasing Ghosts. Thanks again for stopping by. I appreciate you guys, and let me know what you think. Let me know if you want to see more special editions of other series as well, because I can do things like that from the weekends, just kind of fill some time. I don't know. I'm just having fun looking at books and researching. I was looking into this stuff anyway, so I figured I might as well sit down, record it, and share what I find with you guys. And as long as you're enjoying it, I'll keep doing it. So with that said, thanks again for stopping by. Like, subscribe, hit the alert button, keep telling friends. Let's keep the subscriber count going up. I'll bring back some giveaways pretty soon. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon.